Hello, artful friends. Happy Father's Day. It is kind of a weird Father's Day. I have been a good father to my dog, though, and I took him to the dog park to give him a little exercise and fun because the weather is actually not as hot as it has been. So I was like, it's really nice out. I should take the dog to the dog park. So I gave him a fun time. But last night, I did a photo shoot by myself, and it was really scary actually because I was completely by myself doing the photo shoot. I have my really nice camera, is my professional camera. It's my baby. I love it very much. And why it was scary was because, well, I was scared I was going to drop it in water, and that would have been horrible. Thankfully, I did not. I had a horrible tripod with me. It was not my normal tripod, even though my normal tripod is broken, and I forgot it at home. So I went to the location that I wanted to do the photo shoot in because it's got a nice bathtub that I could work with. And I knew I was going to cut out a lot of the background because if I didn't, there is a duct taped with a trash bag thing on the wall where part of the soap dispenser had snapped off the wall, so they were missing tiles and stuff like that. So it's covered with duct tape and a trash bag because handyman. But I was doing a mermaid photo shoot. I have a tail, and they didn't have a lot of options as far as color of tails. I had received a blue one in the mail many months ago that I wanted to do a mermaid photo shoot. I wanted to find a character that I could turn into a mermaid and do a fun photo shoot with. But I got that in the mail, and it didn't even fit on my leg, like one leg at all. It was super tiny, and it doesn't even fit on most of my. I collect dolls, if anybody's wondering. I do collect dolls. I love dolls. And I put it on one of my dolls, and it doesn't even fit on little dolls. And I was like, this is way too tiny. I need a different one. So I had to wait a long time for a refund and then to get another one in the mail. And this one is actually rather small, but I was able to fit into it. I was scared when I got it because it's really, really tiny. And I was like, is this going to fit around my hips? And I had to stretch it a whole lot. Thankfully, the elastic does stretch some, so I was able to get it. But I was nervous because I filled the bathtub with water and I set up nice lighting because there is much better lighting than here. What I have at home is not great lighting by any means, and I don't have professional lighting or anything. Sometimes I have little lights that I got out of a dumpster because I lived in a college town, and for some reason, college students in that college town, since they've got mommy and daddy's money, so they buy all this stuff, and then whenever they move away, they just throw everything away. Also, how I got my cat, because for some reason, kids who have mommy and daddy's money think, oh, well, I had this for college and it was great, but now I don't need it anymore, so I'll just throw it away even though it's working. So I have these professional, they're more like shop lights in all actuality, that I have at home here that I mean, they work for whenever I need them, but they're really harsh light and they just kind of they don't necessarily do the job. So I went to a place with a better bathtub than I have because I have an apartment with a pretty crappy tiny bathroom. Crappy bathroom. But I set that up. I'm immature, sorry. I set everything up at this bathroom, and it was a very vulnerable situation because I was alone for this photo shoot wearing this, which keeps my legs together, and I can't really move that easily. And I fill the tub with water, and I set my tripod up high, and I'm trying to get good angles, and I'm realizing getting angles is really difficult to do whenever you're by yourself, and getting the focus and getting everything just right situated was actually not an easy feat, but I was able to do it. And it was also really vulnerable because I have done one photo shoot in the past where I was shirtless. I did Cecil from an AU, which was called Stripper Veil, and in Stripper Veil, Cecil is a stripper. So I have done a photo shoot where I was shirtless, but with this one, it wasn't as awkward because there was nobody there. It was just me, so I didn't have to feel like that body conscious because I don't know, like for some reason I get really body conscious really quick. And I had that a few times while doing this mermaid photo shoot, and I was like, maybe I should put on a shirt. And I did bring a shirt, but I was like, I really don't know how that's gonna translate too well in the water, and it's gonna get super wet, and it's just gonna not look right. So I decided to do everything shirtless and just wear the jewelry and whatnot, because why I love Linnaeus a whole lot is because he wears so much jewelry and he's very effeminate. Linnaeus is from a webcomic that back in my day when I was a teenager was a pretty big deal, and then it just like no more updates and it kind of died off really quick. But I still love it, and I actually got into it a few years ago, which is sad because I didn't get into it while it was hyped and a big deal. But I was like, okay, I have this pink mermaid tail. What character do I know would look cute with a pink tail? And I did think about doing Roxy. I actually really did, Roxy from Homestuck. I was like, maybe I could do her with a mermaid tail, and maybe one day I still will, because this photo shoot turned out relatively okay. Obviously, it didn't turn out great because I was by myself, and I was horrified the entire time that my camera would fall into the water. But maybe I can find somebody to help me do a Roxy photo shoot with a mermaid tail, because I still think that she would look adorable with a pink mermaid tail as well. But I decided to go with Linnaeus as my first one because um, I realized that he would be the easiest to do by myself because I could have a lot more creative liberty of my angles and stuff, and also being completely exposed because it was really, really awkward. I didn't have underwear on, I just had this, and I didn't have a shirt on, so I felt really naked and exposed. And if anybody knows me from real life, you know, I don't take my shirt off. I don't get naked in front of anybody. I actually, even like months into dating the person I was with, get seeing anybody else get changed also really does kind of like make me feel awkward. So I'm always the first to turn away if somebody is going to get changed. I just, out of respect, will look away, even if they're getting changed in front of everybody and they don't care. I still care. Like, I don't know, it's just kind of who I am. And somebody said naked and afraid, and yes, it was very much naked and afraid. But it was a pretty good photo shoot. I have one picture up so far on DeviantArt. Yes, I'm bringing DeviantArt back. I didn't know where to post it I thought about just posting it to Tumblr, but then I thought about just the copyright and everything like that. I was worried about the image being stolen. Also, why most of my cosplays are being uh, watermarked is because a lot of the images from Artful Impersonator for some reason have been stolen, and I don't really appreciate that, so I do watermark my images, and I was like, okay, maybe on DeviantArt I should just post it. That way it definitely has a place of copyright, and it has my watermark also on it, and I know DeviantArt steals images. I know that, and I think that is atrocious. I'm not approving at all of that. But I was like, well, what images normally get stolen from DeviantArt? Normally it is art, like fan art, like drawings and paintings and stuff, which is awful and stupid and should not happen. I don't think anybody puts in the time and effort to do drawings. I can't draw, but I've watched many people draw, and they don't put in those hours and all that work to just have it stolen or have it sold by DeviantArt to some company. Like, even I've heard some people have had the horror story of Hot Topic now owns their image basically, and Hot Topic can mass produce the image onto anything they want, which I think is very stupid. But I didn't think that a cosplay photo would necessarily be stolen, especially from the. I still feel like a small cosplay channel, so I was like, I don't think it's going to get stolen, and especially with the watermark, I can't see anybody wanting to steal the image. At least I hope not. But I did the photo shoot, and one of the worst parts that scared me the most about dropping my camera was that I put the tripod, it was a really, really bad tripod. Let's just put that out there. It was an awful tripod from when I was a kid that I tried to use my very first tripod. Oh, little me. My very first tripod, and I forgot the head of the tripod is missing. That is why whenever I was little and I did my very first YouTube channel, I would rubber band my camcorder, which had tapes that it would record to. Back in the day of tapes, it would record to tapes, but I had to rubber band my camcorder onto that tripod because the head of the tripod was missing. I don't know why. I can just blame my little self probably, but I was a kid and didn't know that those are important to keep with the tripod or with the camera that you're going to be using. So right now, the head of, and if you're not aware of what I'm meaning by the head of a tripod, I actually have it with my camera at all times now. It is just this, that you take the screw part and you put it into your camera. So you screw it onto your camera, and then you put this in onto the tripod itself and lock it in place so that your camera doesn't move around and whatnot. That was missing from my little one, and I felt like I'll just make this other one work even though it's worse. I'll make this one work because at least the head isn't detachable, it's just a part of the tripod. Ugh. But it doesn't raise very high, and the legs of it, they're not really easy to secure in place, so they keep wanting to slide into the tripod again to make it shorter again. No matter how hard I tried to tighten it, it was still trying to go small. And so what I decided to do, and I'm so thankful, I got off lucky this time. Don't be like me with your cameras, because I didn't even want to be like me when I was messing around with this. I put it on a wicker laundry basket. If anybody knows me in real life, they will understand that one of my biggest things that I always say is I'm scared of wicker furniture. Um, that stems from whenever I was a little kid, I was sitting on a wicker chair and it busted out from under me and I fell really hard on my ass. And so now I've always just like said like, oh god, wicker furniture, I'm terrified. Wicker baskets, I'm scared, stuff like that. But I had I found a wicker basket in the bathroom and I was like, I can make this taller to get the high angle that I need because my head kept getting cut off at the angle that it was at, and I don't want to do up the nose. I am a certified professional photographer now. I went to school for all of that, and I was like, oh my gosh, my head is being chopped off. And also, like, the top of your head, they say leave headroom, and I wasn't getting any headroom really. And a joke that I made to help people understand because I would help people study for their certification tests for photography was I would say we're not barbarians. We are photographers. We don't scalp people. So headroom, make sure that you don't scalp somebody so that there's enough little air above the head. And I mean, that helps some people because it gives you a giggle and you remember things you laugh at better. But I put up on top of that wicker basket and I was really terrified because it started like wanting to fall. And I was like, please don't fall. Please don't fall. Please don't fall. So instead of being able to, because I know it has it. I know for a fact it has it, but this isn't like the one I had at school. So I just haven't played around with it enough. I couldn't find the timer setting for, it's right there. But it didn't work whenever I was doing it. I was playing around with the settings for quite a while, trying to figure out where the timer was. And I've never really had great luck with timers. I don't know if it's just me or what, but I don't like whenever it beeps for 10 seconds or however long that you ask it to wait for you to get in position, and then it takes one picture and you have to see if that one turned out well. I've never really had great luck, even whenever I have it go at a burst mode, so it takes a few pictures. I've just never really had great luck. I get something blurry or just not a good shot. So what I did instead was, because I only shoot in RAW, that is a problem with me because that means my file sizes are massive and my computer is a craptastic computer that can't handle anything, so it hates me that I shoot in only RAW. But I shoot in only RAW, which means it's the highest quality, and whenever you go into edit, things are a lot clearer and whatnot, so that you can get cool edits and whatnot. But instead of doing many pictures, I will do where I just record a video and then I take screenshots that I like from the video. So I'll turn it on to video and I will pose and then see which one works and then go in later and take the screenshots from my video. It does help with keeping things a little bit easier for me than trying to set up the timer and all of that. But I thought about, and you're gonna laugh at this. This came with the mermaid tail, and it is extremely padded because this is it naturally. Normally, whenever I have like thought about doing things, the boobies normally are flattered. Like these ones are just, they're there. Whoa, bam! They are there. Like, if you want some high grade booby bikini, this one definitely does the job. I thought about doing this as the top, but Linnaeus is a male character, and he definitely is, he doesn't have the titties. And I was like, well, I could just edit them down to not look like titties. But then I was really looking at it, and I was like, these are titties. These are going to stay titties, no matter what I do. And I looked for how I could take the padding out, because I know with like some bras, you can take the padding out. This one is so well made. This is hard. This is sturdy. Like, holy crap. It came free with the mermaid tail. So, I mean, that's good. But, like, this is a sturdy freaking thing. I don't think I even know at Walmart, they're normally not this sturdy. So I was like, wow, I'm not going to use you. I can't. I just threw that on my cat and she just had a conniption. I'm sorry. I am Satan. I'm sorry. She's like, the fuck? But yeah, had fun. But I did think about whenever I was in the editing bay, which means I'm here. Whenever I was in editing, I was like, all right, so I can see your nip knops. Do I want to keep the nip knops, or shall I get rid of the nip knops? Because I don't know. I'm insecure. I'm really insecure about my nippies. And so I was like, well, how do I get rid of the nip knops without, because something that one of my friends and I always joked about way back in the day, looking at cosplayers who would do these amazing photo shoots, and if they were shirtless, and if they were a male character, for some reason they would just completely, it would be like the anime, where they got no nip knops. They would just erase the nipples. And it was always just funny to look at because we're like, hey, everybody's got nipples. Like, some people don't have nipples, but like, a lot of people, we got nipples. It happens. Some people have 3 nipples. It happens. So it was really confusing and funny to look at that, yes, you're cosplaying an anime character. So yeah, I can see like in some occasions if you're cosplaying free, like the anime free, nobody has nipples. They're shirtless all the time. They're swimmers, but they've got no nip knops, and it's weird. And so I can understand if you're cosplaying from free, that if you were doing a photo shoot and you decided to edit out the nipples, you'd be very accurate to the cosplay. So, I mean, I can understand it, and then sometimes it just looks humorous. But I was like, I don't really want to keep my nipples in this picture. I just don't feel confident about them that much. So I was like, how do I get rid of the nipples without it looking too stupid? And what I decided to do, and I know it's not perfect by any means, but it was the middle of the night, and I was staring down my nipples, wondering what I should do. And I was like, you know what? That little jewel on his pendant, what if he just had more jewels? And his nipples are bedazzled. Like the bedazzling infomercial from the 90s. So I bedazzled his nip knops, and it happens. And now there they are, that got rid of the issue. I was like, okay, nipples aren't the major like thing, but, and I could have left them. I thought about leaving them, but I also know that my grandmother, she watches, or doesn't watch my YouTube, but she sees like some of the pictures that I post and stuff like that, and she loves that my quality is getting better and whatnot, because she's an artist herself. She does paintings and whatnot. And I was like, I don't want my grandma to see my nipples. I know that's weird. I know that's weird. I know that's stupid. But I was like, I don't want my grandma to see my nipples. So I took them away. I covered them up. And that was that. And I have done that with, I did a stripper veil photo shoot where I was completely shirtless and we did all the tattoos and whatnot that he has. And I decided to basically do like pasties, but we made them out of just duct tape. Don't put duct tape on your nipples. That shouldn't have to be said, but it does. Please don't put duct tape on your nipples if you cherish the skin on your nipples, because you don't think you cherish the skin on your nipples until it's being ripped off. Yep. So that was my experience with that, but that was because I was very insecure and I had somebody else buying the camera. Yes, it was my partner. So yes, my partner seeing me, you know, naked and all that, but it was also one of those of I still was like in front of the camera, do I want to show my nipples for this? So we did the pasties. Duct tape pasties. Oh, the things we do for cosplay that we shouldn't do. But with this one, I just was like, let them breathe. I'm not going to do duct tape ever again on my nipples unless I absolutely have to, but there are other ways, I'm sure. I do have this tape that is waterproof bandage, basically, that I could have used, but it's bush tone. And I was like, then I have square nipples. And I thought about like the editing process of square nipples. And I was like, I just end up taking the nipples off anyway, and I was gonna figure out what the hell to do with my nipples. So I decided to just let them breathe. I'm by myself, and we'll edit that out later. And I did the cover. I covered them up. But if you would like to check out the photo, it is at, let me actually put it in the description. I'm an ignoramus. I don't think about these things when I go online. I'm just like, I want to go online. I want to talk to my artful friends. I love my artful friends. And then I'm like, oh, I should put that in the description. I didn't. So let me redo. There's the link. Saving. There you go. I don't know if it'll show up if you're already in the live stream. I don't know how it works. My apologies. So, I mean, you may have to refresh it. Otherwise, our username on DeviantArt is the exact same as it is here on YouTube. So, if you just look up on DeviantArt, Artful Impersonator, well, our DeviantArt will show up. But I have to say, this is one of the weirdest cosplays I've ever done. But it's one of those I've always wanted to do. I just haven't had the confidence to do. And I never really had a character that I was like, I really want to turn them into a mermaid. And so this one, finally, I saw the Mermaid Tales for super freaking cheap months ago. And I was like, I'm going to give it a shot. You only live once. YOLO. My apologies. My apologies. I hate myself for doing that. But I decided I'm gonna finally do a mermaid cosplay, and if it fails, well then nobody has to see it. If I hate the pictures, then nobody has to see them. But I think for what I was dealing with, the situation I was dealing with, I think it turned out pretty alright. So it's a wonder what you can do with just a little bit. I didn't ever think I would get a pink tail. but that was the only one they had in my size. They're really cheap. And after getting that blue one in the mail and being like, that is never going to fit. Actually, if you'll give me a second, I actually see it from where I'm at, so I could go grab it real quick. You can see my awful mess of my life. I went to Sonic. It happens. I love Sonic. Let me try to give you some entertainment. I mean, it's right over there. Oh, she's angry. Here is Nepeta. So there's your entertainment while I go grab this itty bitty little fin. Nepeta, entertain the people. They love you. They love you. You're beautiful. This is how she entertains. She licks her paw. Okay. Alright. I'm back. My life is a mess, just so you know. I swear I clean sometimes. Alright, but here is the blue one. And I got this one originally because I thought it was really pretty. I had no clue what character would go. It's almost like a beta fish. I think that's actually what they even had it listed as, was like beta fish mermaid tail. Really pretty. Really, really flipping pretty. And I was like, I don't know the character that I would do with this, but it's gorgeous, and I want it. But I killed my boys. Yay! Happy family. Happy family. I live in an apartment, so everything is mostly hung up by tacks, like little thumbtacks, or in Lisa's case, they are just straight pin, sewing straight pins. I hate. That's really tiny, guys. If my head can't even fit in it, that's pretty tiny. I got it in the mail, and I put it on one leg, and I was like, well, it doesn't even fit on one leg. I don't know, and it's really short compared. They were like, oh, it's for kids, and I was like, even when I was a kid, I don't think, like, maybe if it was really all the way stretched out, but I put it on one of my dolls and sent the company that I bought it from, because to get a refund and stuff like that, you have to show a picture of it, like if you say it's broken or if it's too tiny. So I took a picture with one of my little dolls wearing it, and I was like, it doesn't even fit a doll, so I need a refund majorly. It was cheap, but still. So I mean, I don't even know that this would fit in a PETA. She's already mad at me. Do I make it worse? She's all the way over there now. I'll spare you this time. Maybe, if I'm feeling like it later, and I can get her to not claw me to death and claw this up, then if you follow me on Snapchat, then you might see a funny picture of Nepeta wearing a mermaid tail. We'll see. We'll see. I love you, Nepeta. I really do. But yet, I don't know what character would have even... It's blue with some pink. And when I got in the mail, it even more hit me that I was like, I don't know what character that I cosplay would have a blue and pink tail. I mean, if it was purple, then it would have been Cecil. But I don't know any character that I cosplay that would even wear this. So I wasn't too devastated whenever I had to get it refunded, and then buy another one, and saw that they only had pink, because I was like, yeah, pink isn't my first choice, obviously, but in reality, I do have cosplays that would be fine with a pink mermaid tail. So I did that. And if you don't have a Snapchat, then I probably, if I can get, I'm not gonna force her by any means. I'm not cruel or anything like that. But if I can get her into this, if it'll even fit, because something about my cat is she's really big cat for a cat. Like, I compare her to regular cats, and I'm just like, how? She's so massive compared to standard sized cats. So I don't know that she'd even fit in this, to be honest. Like, yeah, I don't think so. But yeah. Then I'll post it even on Instagram probably, because it'd be too funny and I'd need to. It'd just be hilarious. But who do you think, of all the characters that I cosplay, who else would you want to see in a pink mermaid tail? And I mean, if I can get some money together and whatnot. Right now, money I don't have. Like, I have no money. I've been looking for a job for quite a while now. And the sad thing is I was like, I don't want to go back to retail. I went to school for photography and video, so I would like to get a job in photography or video. The only issue with that is I'm finding nothing in my state, job-wise. And so I'm like, I'm going to have to go back to retail. Disdain. But if I have to, I have to. I've worked a few retail jobs, so I know how to do it. I can suck it up. Money is money at this point. I don't have any, so I can't complain how I make it. I just need to be making it. But if I get any money that can go towards cosplay, right now I'm trying to save up to get a new computer, because the computer that I have just is not what I need. I know how to do all these video editing things, and I know how to do incredible things with video. I know how to do incredible things with photos, and my computer just cannot handle the software. It's not made for the software at all. So I can't even try to get the software, because this is a PC, and all the great software that I learned is for the Mac computers. And I don't have a Mac. So I'm saving up to try to get a Mac computer. The only issue with that is I'll be saving for a lifetime. I priced it, and I was like, And especially because I have a car payment now, because not too long ago, a few months ago, my car broke down on the turnpike and completely died. Completely. No saving it. Dead. Gone. Don't know what happened. Well, do know what happened, but just like, that shouldn't have happened. The timing belt snapped, broke every valve in my engine, and just destroyed my engine. So I had to completely get rid of that car, which I had paid off, because it was a used vehicle, paid up front to the person who had owned it, bought it. It was a great car, and then it died. So now what I have is an investment car, which means it's a newer, it's like 2012 or something. So it's the newest car I've ever owned. So like a 2012. And right now I am making payments on it and stuff like that, and probably will be paying that off for a lifetime. So having rent, having a car payment, having electricity, having water, having all my bills. I'm an adult. Don't rush to be an adult. It's mostly bills, and it's not fun. But any time that I can just like set aside a few dollars here and there, then I set aside for cosplay. And right now, all I'm saving up for with the cosplay, I'm saving up to get a new computer. Because I very much want to make this YouTube bigger and better. Know that I definitely could. I could make a lot higher quality videos, and I would have a lot more fun making videos because they'd crank out faster and whatnot with a better computer. Because right now I can film all these things, and then it takes a million and trillion years just to get them onto my computer, and that requires a lot to get onto my computer. So I'm hoping that soon, one day, I will have a new computer. And I do have a donation link, not in the description again. I'm just bad at putting things in the description. But on Tumblr, on the Artful Impersonator Tumblr, so spelt the exact same way here, I do have a donation button that you can donate any amount and whatnot. And any amount that you donate, then I will put you on for, I send out a weekly newsletter to anyone who has donated. So it doesn't matter how much you donate, I will put you into the newsletter. And you can get updates, you can know videos before they come out, before anybody else knows about them, photo shoots, just all sorts of things that are cosplay related, even cons that I decide to just randomly go to, like a con this year. I just out of the blue decided to do that, and the people who follow the newsletter, they definitely got to know before anybody else that that wild hair ran up my ass, and I decided to go to A-Con. So if anybody would like to, then that's how you can get signed up. And then I had tried to figure out like ways to, if you donate other amounts and whatnot, that I would do certain things for you and whatnot. So I have all of that somewhere on Tumblr. I'll just have to like go back and whatnot. But I know like I did one, which was if you donate $100, because I didn't expect anybody to donate $100, like that is a major blessing and whatnot. That is extreme. I know money is tight for every single human being. I know that. So I mean, unless you're absolutely rich and wealthy, but I know, like in my case, in most cosplayers' case, that money is tight. Uh, so if somebody donated $100, I put out there that like I would make any video that you wanted. So any character that I have doing anything you want, that I would make that video for you and whatnot. And I've had that now happen once, and that was an absolute blessing. And I was super, super thankful. So the Roxy making cookies was because of that, and I was super, super thankful for that. And so I'm just doing things like that. But I mean, even if you want to donate like $1 or 50 cents or whatnot, you'll still at least get signed up for the you'll still get signed up for the newsletter. But other than that, that has been what I have been doing. I also have been really extremely blessed and super thankful to hear from the last live stream that I made that I needed some violin music. I heard from quite a lot of you artful friends. I'm super, super thankful for that. So hopefully I will be able to have some amazing pieces of work by artful friends that I am able to make videos with. And I already have been filming a little bit for a video that will go towards that violin music, and that was a fun time, but obviously there's still a whole lot more to film. But I did do a video shoot for a day with that video, and then there's also another video that I am going to work on as soon as possible. That one I have been like saving up for and like really making sure that I have all this stuff for before I start filming. So like fake blood, I did the video shoot for one that will be for the violin music that I need, and I got everything together, and I went to film, and I was like, I don't have fake blood. I need fake blood for this. I also don't have red food coloring. And by that point, I was already in my cosplay. I wasn't gonna go run out to Walmart and try to go buy that. I have cosplayed in public before. It's not my favorite thing in the universe after issues that I have dealt with in the past. That was kind of that's where I stopped. Especially when you're by yourself. If I'm with other people, it makes it easier. Not too long ago, I had gone to Med Fair in cosplay, and then a friend and I decided to go out to dinner far away from Med Fair in a different city than Med Fair, and I was still dressed up, and we went to it's a fancy restaurant, like it's a sit-down restaurant with a waiter and whatnot, and dim lighting, and so a fancy restaurant. And I was dressed up, and I felt really awkward because they weren't in cosplay, and they weren't in anything abnormal or anything that signified we had been to Med Fair. They were looking like a normal human being that belonged there, and then there was me. And so that was a little awkward, but that's the last time that I cosplayed out in public, and nothing happened there. So I was like, okay, this isn't too bad. But that cosplay was my Nezumi cosplay, so I mean, I looked kind of normal. I mean, if you're looking at most people nowadays, like teenagers especially, with the cool hair, with the different colored hair that I love, I absolutely adore, and stuff, I just kind of looked like that. I kind of more looked like one of those teenagers with really cool hair. And so nobody stared at me too bad and whatnot. And it's not stares I'm worried about. It's I used to go out in Homestuck cosplay, so I would be in troll cosplays. So I'd be gray. I'd have horns, or sometimes I wouldn't even be gray, but I just have the horns on. God bless. And things that happened there were just absolutely horrific. That kind of stopped me from wanting to cosplay out in public, because I had one of the first times I ever went. Actually, it was the first time. Good lord, how did I still do that after that being my very first time out? My very first time in Homestuck cosplay, out in public, was I was Carcat. I was not gray. I just had the horns on, and I had his turtleneck on, and I didn't know anything about the character and whatnot. It was I got pulled into the cosplay and just went with it. And I was cranky back then. I was really grumpy, angry person back then. So like everybody thought it was funny. I didn't have a clue who the character was, but they were like, "You're a great card cat," and I'm like, "Okay, I have no idea what that means, but thanks." Um, and this guy, we went to IHOP. It was like the middle of the night. This is what you do as a cosplay adult. It was the middle of the night, and we went to IHOP. Already, we should have been prepared, but there was this table of guys who were super drunk. They were like middle-aged men wearing cowboy hats. I live in Oklahoma. That's still rare in Oklahoma. This isn't Texas, so seeing people in cowboy hats already trips me up a lot. I know a lot of people, whenever they associate Oklahoma, they think that we all wear cowboy hats. And actually, whenever I used to go to California a lot and whatnot, they were actually shocked that I had running water. They were shocked that I lived in a house that was bigger than theirs and cheaper than theirs and nicer than theirs and whatnot, because they believed that in Oklahoma we all rode horses. They were shocked I didn't own a horse. I trained horses, but that was just out of my own free will. Uh, so they were shocked that I didn't ride a horse everywhere, that I didn't wear cowboy hats, cowboy boots, whatnot. So like seeing these guys in cowboyish garb and they were drunk, I was like, all right, we're already going to deal with something. So I already kind of had my guard up. Well, of course, whenever you go out looking like you're seeking attention, even though we were not. But you're in cosplay, and you're wearing these weird things on your head, and Carcat, it definitely looks like candy corn on your head. It wasn't October, so obviously this guy comes up drunk out of his freaking brain, and he just puts his arm over one of my friends who is sitting next to me, and then puts his other hand on my lap and starts like petting my thigh. Not okay. Not okay. And so he's talking to us, and I'm giving him the biggest go fuck yourself, get out of here, don't touch me, leave us alone. And I'm like telling him, I'm like, go, you're not welcome here, go. And he was like, oh, blah, blah. And I could barely understand him. This man was drunk. And he just reeked of alcohol too. I was like, good lord, calm yourself. Like, did you bathe in it? But he was trying to like talk to us and trying to figure out what we were doing and who we were and blah blah blah. And I'm not having it. And I almost hit the guy because my friend was who he had his arm around has a chest, has a big chest. And I was so scared that he was going to go for it. Like, the fear was real, and I was getting frustrated, and I was like, get your hands off, fuck off, go away, blah, blah, blah. He's not taking me seriously. He now thinks this is funny, and whatnot. So that already scared me to cosplay out in public. But then, anytime that we'd go to, like, Walmart and cosplay or whatnot, one of the biggest questions, this is Oklahoma. Oklahoma's the Bible Belt. Oklahoma is primarily raging Christians. And yeah, going out with horns on, not the wisest idea. Not at all the wisest idea. We would get asked, like, are you devils? Are you guys Satanists? God bless. We got asked like all these questions, and like from rednecks, from just grandmas. One of the best situations we had, though, I will say this was absolutely fantastic, was in Oklahoma. Obviously, going out in homestead cosplay is terrifying because you're apparently a demon or the devil or you're a Satanist. What's wrong with Satanists? I don't think anything, but in Oklahoma, a lot of people think that Satanists are evil. Okay. Okay. But I was scared because we were at a thrift store cosplay shopping as usual. And we're in Homestuck. I believe I was Solix, and my partner was Carcat, because that was my OTP. And we didn't have any skin paint on or whatnot. We just had the headbands. And I'm feeling the stares. I'm getting really awkwarded out, but I'm like, they're just staring. They're just staring. At least they haven't said anything. At least they're not coming up to us. They're not doing anything. And this, like, she had to have been, like, close to 50. And she's, like, staring at us. And we get in line, like, right behind her. And she's just staring at us. And staring. And, like, all these other people in the line are just like, oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, no. The devil is here. And, like, they've got, like, these freaked out faces. Like, don't look at it. Look at it. Don't look at it. I love those reactions the best. Of, like, people are staring, but then they're like, I'm not staring. I'm staring. I'm not staring. I'm staring. But this lady had a different face. She just had this, like, stare. And we're just kind of minding our own business and just kind of like, we're weird. Oh, God. Why do we do this? It's fun for us, and then we always question why we do it, sort of thing. Well, then she was like, I like your headband. And like the sweetest, tiny little tone, I like your headband. And we're like, what the heck? Thank you. And she was like, what are they made of? That's so cool. And like starts asking us legit questions, and it's just so, like, treating us like we're the most normal human beings, like we just had a cute little bow on our head, something normal. And that was like the best reaction I ever got in public for cosplaying in Homestuck if people didn't know Homestuck. We did have a few times where they would know Homestuck and they'd freak out and it would be really cool. I remember one time I worked nights, and my name tag at my job said Dave Strider. I did that. Um, my manager never caught on, my manager never cared. I work nights, so you're that person that just like nobody really bothers, except for if they had customers who didn't speak English, they'd send them over to me. Everybody would send them just straight to me because that doesn't bother me any. I can communicate and whatnot, even if I don't speak their language, like I can treat them like a human being, and they're not deaf. Something that always drove me nuts was people for some reason get louder when they're talking to somebody who speaks a different language. I don't know why. I don't know why. But I'd be able to figure out what they want, so the one that they would call to help. I one time had a onto the aisle and she was in Carcat cosplay. And I just had this big shit-eating grin, and I'm like, yes, yes, good. But I was also working, so I was like, what do I do in this situation? So I was like, I like your Carcat cosplay, and she freaked out and was super excited. And I was like, yeah, if you go like over there, you'll meet another Homestucker and whatnot. So that was a really fun experience. I like to see people cosplay in public. I don't see it very often. I really don't, which is sad, but I do like to see people in public cosplaying and not just during con and whatnot. But I do understand, like, especially here, it's harder to get away with. Now, it is fun to see people who will do casual characters, like characters that are human characters, and they're just in casual outfits, and yet I can pick out that that's a wig. So already I'm like, all right, I think they're cosplaying because like they're teenagers. I've seen this a lot where they're wearing a wig and they're wearing an outfit that they obviously put together for a character, and sometimes I can guess what anime they're from, and then other times I have to like go up and be that awkward person of like, I like your cosplay. Who are you cosplaying? I like it, but I have no freaking clue who you are. And then they'll tell me, it's really cool. But yeah, it's always those weird situations of here, especially, it's just something that is still new. I have noticed, though, because of YouTube and because of television, that more people are kind of getting used to weird people, so cosplayers. They're kind of getting more immune to it, that whenever they see it in public, especially when we were doing weekly vlogs and I would be holding a camera like this going through a store or whatnot. Yes, you'd get some stares, but then a lot of the time I was noticing a lot of people were just like, oh, they're vlogging, okay. And like, it didn't phase them too much. And I think that just comes with everybody's kind of getting immune to that. They watch vloggers or they've seen cosplay. I have got some really rude questions about cosplay whenever I go out in public, and if they figure out I'm a cosplayer, or if they see that I'm dressed up, or if I'm wearing an anime shirt or anything like that. I've had some really rude questions about cosplay, and I think that's just because the things that have been shown on the media side of things, which is the only side they've ever seen. So if it showed up on their television in their home, so something that they were choosing to watch or whatever, the mainstream things, if they've seen cosplay, it's kind of depicting cosplay in a really bad light. and I've heard a lot of nasty things that I was like, that's sad that that's their first reaction to cosplay, or that's their first awareness of cosplay is something nasty. And I always have to like try to break the stigma of like, oh no, no, not everybody's like that, and that's the rare few. And yeah, unfortunately they made it as the big thing that you hear about, and generally you hear about things because it got so big and bad that unfortunately we like to share the bad more than the good. And so I'm like, oh yeah, I know about that, and but I can assure you that not all cosplayers are like that, and we're normal people and whatnot, but it's just its own world basically, and people are still new to it. But I mean, the same goes with uh like this month is Pride Month for Gay Pride, and me living in the Bible Belt and growing up very homophobic. I grew up excruciatingly homophobic, and that just kind of came with the territory, unfortunately, and the raising and whatnot of that gay people are bad. And so, it being Pride Month now, it's weird to like be out in public and hear. You can tell a lot of people in Oklahoma. This is weird. This is really weird because like it's new for me because I was born and raised in Oklahoma, and to hear there's more tolerance, that's great. I'm saying weird just because like it's different from what the norm is. I'm used to, it's always been bashed, it always will be bashed. Whereas now, like the wonderful thing is I'm hearing a lot more tolerance, I'm hearing a lot more caring, kindness. Everybody's got a gay cousin. I can't tell you how many times. Like, I know that sounds like just the funny thing that people say, but it's crazy whenever I talk to people how many are like, oh yeah, I don't like the gays, but I mean, I've got a cousin who's gay, and I'm okay with them so long as blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, that's great. Um, please get better at liking the gays. Um, please love the gays. But I don't know. I I think it just comes from we need to get better things out in the spotlight, like in the mainstream. We need to get more positive for cosplay, for gays, for this, that, and the other, because it is such a positive thing. They're very positive, and yet, for some reason, what we've seen to mainstream and what everybody knows is nasty and not good and not at all how it actually is. Although, I have to say, like, growing up in Oklahoma and hearing how many people, speaking of like mainstream does change people's opinions and does change people for the better or for the worst, but like dealing with in Oklahoma, hearing how many people are like, yeah, I was really homophobic until like Ellen DeGeneres. I just grew up with her and I love Ellen DeGeneres and she's a good person. And then she came out as a lesbian. And I didn't know if I could keep watching her, but she's just so funny and she dances and she's like a normal person and I just love Ellen. And I'm like, yes, Ellen is a normal person, and gay people are normal people. What do you think like they do all day? The weirdest thing, like whenever I was raised and was homophobic, was to be gay meant you were only after sex. That unfortunately is what is kind of built into the homophobia in Oklahoma, is that they just want nasty sex all the time. That's not the way to do it. Blah, blah, blah. And I thought, like, oh, people are only gay for sexual reasons and that's it. And they don't actually love the person. They're just lusting. There's the word. They're just lusting after that person and they just want to screw around with the person and that's it. And so I saw them as only that. And it wasn't until what changed me for the better was getting to witness, not completely firsthand, but through somebody that I was raised with, their uncle and his partner. His partner was dying and dying in the hospital, and because they had been together for a long time, and like they had been together for forever, and he's dying in the hospital, and his partner, their uncle, was not allowed in the hospital room except for visiting hours because he was not seen as family, even though he was technically like the only family he really had there and whatnot. He wasn't allowed in because he's not family. And so they didn't allow him in like they would have allowed a wife, which is disgusting to me because technically they were a married couple in a way. Like, marriage wasn't legal back then, but they were married. Let's just like call it what it is. They were married. And the fact that he wasn't allowed in with him while he was dying was disgusting to me. And I was like, wait, that's he want so I was like, so wait, they've been together this long, and he's super sick, and ignorant me, I was a kid, ignorant me, I was like, they have sex because he's sick? So why are they still together? That's not how gays work. And I was like, that's confusing to me. And I was just like, it changed my point of view of, oh no, they haven't been able to have sex in years because he's sick. And it's not about sex, it's about love. And he loves him, and they're humans who love each other. And that's where like my brain finally let up. And I was a kid, I was a young child, but I definitely see a lot of people who are grown-ass adults who are still very homophobic, and yet Ellen DeGeneres is like changing their mind because they're finally seeing them as normal human beings. Like, Ellen is not ashamed to say on her show, I don't have TV, I don't, but like I've seen clips and whatnot. She's not ashamed to like say my wife and stuff. She just brings it up like any other person on television. If they need to mention what's going on at home, they'll mention their spouse, and she does. And I think that's kind of where the tolerance is building up for people who are older, of just hearing that and being like, oh yeah, she's got a wife, okay. And it's not that, oh my god, how dare she say that, oh my god, that's gross, the fabric of my marriage is ruined because Ellen has a marriage. Something that I also, whenever I got a little bit older and I wasn't so homophobic, but I was still kind of like figuring out stuff, was around that time, Britney Spears had her 24-hour marriage. And that baffled me. I grew up in this is state, Oklahoma, where, especially where I was raised and the religion I was raised in and whatnot, you don't say the word divorce. People don't get divorced. You work shit out, and you're not allowed to basically get divorced and stuff like that. And I then saw Britney Spears, because she was big back then, front page news and whatnot, that she had 24-hour marriage. And I was like, so nobody's really up in arms about this. They're just kind of like, another celebrity with a failed marriage. Happens. And I was like, okay, so they're heterosexual. They got married for 24 hours. Obviously, don't love each other. And that's not ruining your marriage. You're not up in arms of like, this takes away the sanctity of marriage. Nobody was also fighting that Elvis can marry you, or people can drunkenly get married and whatnot. Nobody was ever fighting that. But then if a couple that were both sex, or like the same sex, wanted to get married, people were like, no, you'll ruin marriage. The sanctity of marriage depends on you guys not getting married. And I was like, so the sanctity of marriage has Britney Spears getting married for 24 hours, and as people in Las Vegas getting drunk married, and yet people who have been together, like super old people too. Like I was looking at, there were old ladies who were fighting to get married. They'd been together for like 50 years and they just wanted to get married. And I was like, so that doesn't ruin the sanctity of your marriage, that people are getting 24-hour married, yet people who've been together longer than you and have loved each other longer than you and your partner, they're ruining marriage. That's where it was really my, I'm going to fight for everybody has rights and everybody's human and whatnot. Unless you've deemed yourself not human by taking another human's life intentionally, you are human and you deserve to be treated fairly and you deserve to have the same rights as everybody else. And I do like the yaoi now. I'm reading yaoi in the comments, and then I saw you're nice, and that was something that I wanted to touch on because being a nerd in this community and stuff, my very first ship was while I was still homophobic, but my very first ships were both gay ships. And it was Uranus and Neptune, even though back in my day, they were cousins, because I watched the dub, and for some reason, super close cousins, was better for children than if they were a happy lesbian couple. Thank you for that, America. Um, but I didn't really know how to tell anybody that like I shipped them because I was uber tiny. I also didn't know there was a word for it. I was just little, and I was like, they're a couple. I didn't want to see them as cousins because I didn't want to be that close to my cousin. And I could kind of tell around the lies. I had known that they had changed things up. So I didn't want to see them as cousins. But then my other ship that I shipped was Hiei and Kurama from Yu Yu Hakusho. My dog is named Hiei. And actually at Acon, I got to tell the voice actor of Hiei, I was like, I named my dog after Hiei. And he was like, is he short and angry and loves Kurama? And I was just like, he just made it canon. My OTP from when I was wee tiny just became canon. I was in grade school when Yu Yu Hakusho was a big deal to me. And it was on TV. And that was my ship. Hiei and Kurama was like my thing. And I didn't know how to tell anybody that. And I was like, but they're not they're not like really together, but like I want them to be. I really want them to be. But then like I was so homophobic that I was like, but like they're not together. Like they're dude, I just for some reason want them to be together, but they're not gay. But like I want them to be. And I never knew like how to say that. Well then I keep killing my sons. New babies. You're gonna be okay. I know. I'll get to you guys in a second. I'm gonna talk about Urianice in a minute. It'll be alright. It'll be alright. But then, like, I got into, and I got in way too young, but most people do. Most, I'm not going to deny, most people get into yaoi and things like that super young. And so I got into that very, very young, so very sexual things and whatnot. And it kind of, it didn't completely change my opinion, but it started to change my like tolerance for things. And then I started feeling bad for that because, especially whenever like my friend's uncle and whatnot dealing with his partner dying and whatnot, and I was like, yeah, being gay is not all about sex. So then why is it that yaoi is primarily sex and all about sex? And I never really got to see healthy yaoi relationships because if you looked up yaoi and kurama, you would get tons of sex pics. And if you looked up like anything that was two characters together, unless they were hetero, and I noticed that a lot was for some reason the hetero ships, people would make them like hold hands and they're out doing stuff and like they're a happy couple, and you didn't get that too much with yaoi. And I mean, I did look at Yuri too. I wasn't so much into that for some reason. Like Yuri, obviously, because of my ship with the Sailor Scouts, but it was strange to me. I was like, why is it that if you want gay couples, they have to be fucking, or there's not really much there for them? And it just tripped me up a lot. It still kind of does. But then lo and behold, Yuri on Ice just came out not that long ago, and I was like, oh boy, it's probably gonna be full sex because they're a canon gay couple. It's not just like free where she agrees, but it's not like free where it's suggested, but they never actually can't canonically say they're a couple or anything like that. I was like, well, this is one where they're canonically a couple, because you don't really get that very much. You really actually don't. There aren't a lot of animes willing to dive into that, where you've got Kuroshitsuji, where it's always kind of suggested, but it's never brought up as that unless it's Grell, but then it's always because it's Grell, it's kind of brought up sexually. So I was very concerned with Yuri on Ice. I was like, okay, they're a canon couple. This is rare for anime that they're going to be a canon couple, and this isn't just a hentai, basically. And so I was worried. I was like, where are they going to take this? Because I did watch Junjo Romantica, and let's face it, just because the screen fades to black doesn't mean that's not all they're freaking doing, and it's not a healthy relationship necessarily. You never really get to see healthy, just happy, holding hands, going on dates, being sweet. You don't get that a whole lot with gay couples in anime. So when this came out, I was like, are we actually going to have a happy couple that can be happy without sex? Can that not be the spotlight? Well, then, like the third episode or so, I forget if it's the third or the fourth, whenever he's like, and we're gonna do Eros. And I was like, God damn it. Why do we always have to turn it sexual? And then he was like, I'm gonna be a sexy pork cutlet bowl. And I was like, okay, what the fuck? Hold up. What? And they, yes, there are a few points in the anime where it suggested that they had sex. There are a few points, but like the majority of the anime, the big majority of the anime, is a lot more of building a healthy relationship between two characters, just the same as if they were a hetero couple in anime. It's so unfortunate that I even have to say that because it's rare to find that a gay couple gets to have a normal, healthy relationship established without the sex. I got that in my childhood with Sailor Uranus and Neptune. They were a very healthy relationship, and sex was only alluded to like once. Yeah, I'm remembering that one off the top of my head just because it was really funny. but like they were a healthy relationship. They could hold hands, they could go on dates, they could do this, that, and the other, and just like the hetero couples do. But you didn't really get to see that with a lot of gay characters. So whenever these two came about, and it was sad to me, it actually really was sad to me that they didn't canonically kiss. Technically, yes, they did, but that wasn't really shown, that it had to be hidden by the shoulder. Because, yes, the creator says, yes, that was definitely a kiss, that was meant to be a kiss, yet we don't actually get to see it. Made me a little sad and disappointed that we're still kind of at that place with it. It was a healthy relationship, and it wasn't all about sex, but yet we still didn't get to really see them kiss. Was a little disappointing. Not gonna lie, it was pretty disappointing just because if they had been a hetero couple, they probably would have shown a kiss. Like, more than likely would have shown them kissing. Just because I've seen that with many anime, so the hetero couple always gets to kiss. And then the gay couple always kind of gets like, oh yeah, they kissed. You didn't get to see it, but they did. Trust us. That sort of thing. And it's not that I'm bashing sex. No, like somebody saying, I feel like you can have sex with gay relationships in anime, but there can be a balance of actual relationship. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at is I don't mind sex. Sex, like, I'm asexual, but like I don't mind sex in anime. I don't mind sex in real life and whatnot. It's just that that doesn't need to be the primary focus of a relationship. Obviously, it's definitely a big part of it. Sex does build relationships. It does structure things and whatnot. But the fact that if you see yaoi, most of it's just sex, and that's all you get. You don't get anything but sex. And if you get anything, it's not really a healthy relationship by any means. It's just kind of like, oh yeah, we're together. Oh, but we're two guys, and oh, now we go have sex. That's kind of the big thing that you always get, and it's weird to me. But it always, most anime is, but we're two guys. But we're gonna fuck now. Okay, but I definitely with these two was very appreciative that they didn't do too much of the stigma of, well, we're two guys. This can't be. It was more of them just kind of like just how you question any crush that you get, and then you kind of build upon your crush, and then you to establish a relationship. They did that a whole lot more than the, but we're two guys. This can't be. They didn't like that wasn't their big drive like a lot of yaoi. Because I mean, in a not healthy relationship anime that I liked, that it wasn't all about sex and it wasn't really about sex, was Loveless, but that's not a healthy relationship. You've got an adult and you've got a kid. That's not a healthy relationship. But it thankfully was not based around sex, and that was the first. They call it a shounen, but you don't get a lot of shounens in the world, and a lot of the shounens still turn to they're more than likely having sex behind the black. The lights fade to black, and they're more than likely having sex. And whereas this anime, Loveless, really didn't do that too much. But then on this one, like, they're adults. I was thankful for that. This is the actual oldest. Victor that I cosplay is the oldest character I've ever cosplayed because he's almost 30. He's closer to my age. He's just like a year or two older than me. So cosplaying him was actually really weird because I'm used to an anime. They're normally teenagers. The main characters are normally about like teenagers, which also makes it really creepy for me as an adult I don't read fanfics, and I don't really look up fan art because these characters in my mind, because of the show or whatnot, they're teenagers, and that just, I can't. Unless they've been aged up majorly, is it okay for me, like, to feel comfortable looking at fan art or reading anything? But normally I don't do that no matter what. But, like, these two, they're grown-ass men. They're in a consensual relationship, and, you know, it's not fully bred on sex and sex alone is what made their relationship. And I appreciated that a lot. I liked watching them grow. I liked watching their relationship change and go from good and bad and all of that. I liked those things a lot. Especially if you can show it like a normal relationship rather than the fantasy type of relationships that anime likes to have, where they don't really fight and stuff like that. Whereas, like, in this one, it felt like a real relationship, which I very much appreciated. So much. But I don't know. I say this after making a whole long thing about putting a man into a pink mermaid. But, like, to be fair, Tea House, yes, is nothing but sex. So if you're under the age of 18, please do not look up Tea House. You can look at my picture. There are no nip-nops. It is safe for work, but Tea House, the comic, is purely sex. Um, but I mean, I fell in love with Linnaeus, and yes, he's very effeminate, and it's one of those they never said if he's trans or like is hoping to be a woman. They never like got into that which is fine because I don't think I don't at all believe that a man needs to act a certain way, look a certain way, whatnot. I think, like, if he doesn't want to be a woman and he's just super, super effeminate, he wears a lot of pink, he wears a lot of girly jewelry, he's very, very much effeminate. I don't think any guy who acts like that necessarily then has to also want to be a woman. So, I mean, unless they did somewhere and I just didn't read it, but like I never found anywhere where they said that, oh yeah, he's male, but he doesn't want to be male, he wants to be a girl. They left it as they still refer to him as he, and he's a guy and stuff like that. So that is just, I appreciate stuff like that because I am also very effeminate and I don't think that there's any shame in just being true to whatever you feel. And I don't want to be a woman, not a bit. I don't want to be a woman, but yet I'm extremely effeminate and I'm fine with that. And I don't mind being fabulous. And I'm not ashamed to wear this. I just do what I love and what I feel happiest doing. And if people want to say that's too girly or whatnot, then they just haven't learned that that's also how a guy can be. Just like people are so more comfortable with if a girl wants to be a guy or is a tomboy, people are so much more comfortable with stuff like that. And yet, for some reason, if a guy behaves too girly, that's weird. And I don't understand that because then you're called like a Nancy boy and stuff like that. And I'm just like, okay, but I'm also just a guy and it has nothing to do with my gender. It's just how I am. It's just who I am. And I'm okay with that. I spent so much time trying to explain that gender identity and gender expression are different. It's so annoying. Thank you, KW. Yes, and I mean, it's one of those of this is just my gender expression, maybe effeminate, but I think it's still my male gender expression. I'm still a guy, that's still my gender. My gender expression is just happens to be fabulous. And that doesn't translate to you've got a girly gender expression. It's just, that is my male gender expression, and I am fine with that. And I know a lot of people have also like said, "Oh, then you must be gay." Nope, nope. I am neither. I'm none. I'm asexual, and if somebody comes along who I can get to know and really love and whatnot, even every relationship I've been in, I've only been in two, but I've never been sexually attracted to my partner. It's not that I don't love them. I love them to bits and pieces. Want to be with them forever. I'm just not sexually attracted to them, and it has nothing to do with what's in their pants or anything like that. It's just, I love them for them, and that's just how it has been for me. But yet, I'm not ashamed to get anime crushes that are guys or anything like that, and I don't think that makes me gay. I think it's just, I'm still not a zilch, but Shusuke is my husband, and I will marry that man one day. I love him so much. He could call me Kaneki if he needs, but I think a lot of people just like putting labels on things. But it's weird to see in Japan that gay relationships of any type, more than likely it has to be all about sex, or they're not going to show it until like Uranus came along and kind of blew everybody out of the water. And not like Free. Free didn't blow anybody out of the water. Put everybody in the water. But it's weird to see from Japan. I would expect it more from America, because in Japan, there's not anything against gay people, really. There's not really a lot of homophobia like you would find in America. It's kind of treated the same as any relationship whatsoever, which is great, which is, don't show it off. But they say this to the homosexuals and the heterosexuals. Don't flaunt it, no PDA, and get your work done. Don't let it interfere with your work or studies or anything like that. And you'll be you. But fit into our structured system of society. But if you're gay or straight or whatever, just don't let that affect your work or whatnot. Whereas in America, we take it as such a big deal, and it has nothing to do with if it's affecting your work or not. It's just, how can you like that because I don't like that? It's just, mostly that's what I find. Like, if they're not thumping the Bible, because I live in the Bible Belt, but if they're not, even whenever they are thumping the Bible, a lot of the time it's more than, I find a lot more, it's just them very confused because they can't see past their own nose and think that people do feel different things than they ever will feel. And that kind of makes them, I guess, feel like lesser than, because they don't have certain feelings. I don't know, but we for some reason in America get more uppity about it. So there's a lot more homophobia than there is in Japan. So in Japan, it's really awkward to see stuff coming from Japan that still is almost homophobic in a way, because they're treating yaoi like just a sex object, and being gay is just a symbol of sex. Because for most kids, even, I know even when I was a kid, it was scary to say that you were into yaoi, because that almost alluded to the fact that you like gay porn. Even if that wasn't what you were really trying to say, but that's all yaoi has kind of come to be. Even the yaoi booth at con is pretty much just porn. And so it's scary to say as a kid, like, yeah, I'm into yaoi, because that means, yeah, I'm into gay porn to a lot of people. And so it's weird, though, that they've put it to that level, and it's not the same as their heterosexual couples just yet, where we get to see them go get ice cream together and just have nice dates holding hands. Until, like, this one, which definitely blew me out of the water and blew a lot of other people out of the water. And it's fun to hear that Yuri on Ice is a lot of people's very first anime. I know that a lot of the figure skaters that the show was based around, a lot of them, and some, like, even this guy, like, one of the girls loves anime, and he was kind of loosely based off of her, and she loved it, but then, of course, she shared it with other people, so it became their first anime to ever watch. And I've been hearing that with a lot of the figure skating community is this actually became everybody's first glimpse into anime. And I'm like, that's great because they're going to see anime in the healthy way of gay couples can be just as healthy as the hetero couples that in past animes, and they're going to see that in this anime, and that's awesome and that's wonderful. I will say though, something about Yuri on Ice that did creep me out just a little bit, and I am fine with in the world of fiction, anything is allowed because nobody's actually getting hurt. They're fake characters, they're not real people. You can get away with a lot more. So I am fine with a hell of a lot of shit that is fiction, but that I would never a day in my life be okay with in the real world. And I will say with Yuri on Ice, the only thing, and this is pretty common in anime, so I wasn't like too shocked. I was just more shocked that it was in this. It didn't seem like it had a place to be. It didn't seem like it should have been there. The fact that one of the figures in Yuri on Ice, let's face it, he has a crush on his sister. Like, he's way too protective of his little sister, and he's way too close to his sister. That's very common in Japanese anime. That's extremely normal. Is some incest has to be somewhere, and I'm all for incest in anime. I don't care. It's fiction. If you show me it in the real world, I'm gonna ask, are the two consenting adults? But it didn't seem like it really had a place in Yuri on Ice. So I was like, why you have this healthy gay relationship, and then one of your hetero relationships is a basically, yes, they never say it, but if you watch it, you probably understand why I'm saying this. It's pretty much an incest relationship. And I was like, it just doesn't fit. And then the other hetero relationship that they had was a guy freaking out and breaking down because of his breakup and whatnot. And the girl is utter bullshit. She's an awful human being. That one I kind of understood. I hated the guy. I really did. Like, I didn't care if he failed or not. His eye makeup was driving me insane. But I understood it a little bit more because it did kind of hinder his abilities with his figure skating, and it kind of shows, like, in figure skating, if you have outside problems, don't bring them onto the ice and stuff, and yet she would be there, even though, like, I just hated her so much because he loves her, obviously, and he'd die for her, and he just adores her, and she's kind of an uppity bitch and wants nothing to do with him anymore, and doesn't give him any time of the day anymore, like she's some great thing to have. And I mean, for him, she is, but like, she treats herself almost like, oh look, he wants me, but he can't even talk to me, which I think any person who's like that, that's snobby and wrong. That's not correct. That's not how we treat humans. Even if you have a problem with a human, that's wrong. And I can say that with a clear conscience now because, like, I've had to have multiple conversations about that with people who study sociology and also people who do psychology and whatnot, and having these conversations and seeing that character really drove me insane because she still goes to his figure skating matches even though she hates him and wants nothing to do with him, and she's with this other guy, and she's showing off all the time that she's with this other guy, and she basically was almost there just to show off to him, like, look, you can't have me, this guy has me. Pissed me off a lot. I hated the guy, I really did, like, but it was also one of those where I was like, there's one of their hetero relationships, and that's how they're depicting it. And I was like, is this fair to only have a healthy gay relationship as the only real relationship in the anime, and then all the heteros are falling apart? And then I was really thinking about it. Obviously, I do way too much thinking when I watch anime. I'm sorry. But I was thinking, I was like, well, that is true, though. It's very true to life. Not every hetero relationship is falling apart, just like not every gay relationship is all about sex. But I was like, that was really true, though, because you do see a lot of relationships tear people's careers apart. That's kind of what they were depicting there and whatnot. And then I was like, but did they have any healthy hetero relationship? Not trying to like stand for hetero equality, because you got enough, guys. You got enough. I can say the same about me. I have enough. I'm not hetero, but I'm also not gay, so whatever. But I was like, did they have any healthy, or is it all just the only healthy relationship is between two guys? Because I think to make it where people will enjoy it, and especially if they are homophobic going in watching the anime, they need to see it not just as a bash, fuck you heteros. Basically, they don't need that. That's not going to change their minds. So I was like, right now that's kind of all I'm seeing. Is there a healthy one? And then I really thought about it, and I was like, Yuri's parents. Yeah, they're not shown a whole lot, but Yuri's parents were a healthy hetero relationship, and then Yuri's friend from the ice rink since childhood, his two friends from the ice rink, they got married, and they had they had the three little girls and whatnot, and I was like, okay, so they are showing just the real world issues of relationships and whatnot. And I mean, they did make even these two have problems. So I was like, okay, so they're keeping it where they're just showing that every relationship can have problems. There are all sorts of problems that relationships can face, but still, why did we need the incest? I don't know. I don't know. I've never met anyone like an anime brother. And I mean the anime brother as in the, that's my little sister. Don't you touch and I'm the only one allowed to love them. I've never met that type of person. I'm sure they're out there. I'm positive they've got to be out there. But I've never met them. And it's just strange that they would put it in this type of anime. But thankfully it wasn't the biggest deal of the anime, but it did kind of make me sad that they showed that a lot more than they did I forget his name, Otaba or Otabek, or the guy that Yurio ends up falling in love with. It made me sad that they showed more of the incest brother and sister couple, basically. They showed them a whole lot more than they ever really showed him. So then whenever he shows up on the motorcycle and then he all of a sudden kind of becomes a thing, you kind of really didn't notice him until that moment. And it made me sad because I'm like, maybe we would have grown to like him more if, you know, they had shown him more instead of the incest couple that really didn't do anything for the show. They really didn't. So I was like, maybe had they shown those two competing a little bit more, because they showed a lot of the figure skaters and then they didn't show a whole lot of them equally. And I feel like he kind of got the least airtime as far as figure skating. So now, like, whenever I see Welcome to the Madness and Heaven, can we talk about Welcome to the Madness? That was, oh, I got super happy, especially the extended version, where he takes off his gloves. Mm. Yes, Otobek, yes, like, whenever he takes off his gloves and whatnot, I freaked out, but I was like, good, can we, like, see him actually skate, please? Because I don't know about you, but I mean, I've watched the anime now, like, 3 times, and you really don't get to see him skate. He made it this far, and we really don't get to see him skate much. Like, yes, we get to a little bit, but not as much as some of the other ones. And so I'm like, can we finally see him? But then Welcome to Madness, he's not on the ice, he's just off to the side. And I'm like, do they just not want to draw this man skating? I get he's an intimidating character design, but come on, like, you had Chris figure skate, for heaven's sake. I'm sure you can make Otobek skate. But I don't know. I fell in love with Welcome to the Madness. I want to cosplay that, but obviously with my financial situation, that's not going to happen like I wanted it to. I was like, oh, for Tokyo and Tulsa, I could do that outfit. And then I was like, money is a thing, and I'm going to Tokyo and Tulsa. And that requires money. So I was like, yeah, no. I'm not going to be able to do that for Tokyo and Tulsa. But I did fall in love with that outfit, and I did fall in love with... They became my OTP really quickly. They only became my OTP during Welcome to the Madness. I mean, yes, I shipped them a little bit whenever he put him on his motorcycle, and that was really cute, and stuff like that. And they had their little moment of establishing that they had crushes on each other. But then they became my OTP. And I'm just like, I really can't wait for the next season. I really just need the next season to already be out. And I heard rumors of a movie, but I've heard that, like, in weird ways that I'm just kind of like, is the movie really happening or not? And when? Because I need this now. I did get trolled. Maybe that's why, like, now I'm questioning, is there actually going to be a movie? Because I got trolled. They were like, here's the trailer for the movie. And it was the Geico commercial with the sumo wrestler on ice catching the baby bird. And I was like, God damn it, I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. Nope. But yeah, I mean, if anybody has a Yurio Welcome to the Mat, no, I'm kidding. I mean, I had asked for that cosplay, but also I'm like, nah. It also would make me sad. I'm not gonna lie, it would make me pretty sad to not have an Otobek with me. I'm cosplaying kind of by myself. I am going to bring one cosplay that I'll get to cosplay with somebody at TNT. And so that'll be nice, but like, it's sad now that I'm all by myself because I have all these couple cosplayers and I have no one to cosplay them with. So I'm hoping to find people soon who would also be willing to make videos here on YouTube. That does seem to be a bit of my catch though lately, is if I meet cosplayers, they're either too young, so they're under the age of 18, and I don't feel comfortable with putting them on YouTube until they're consenting adults. Not that any nasty happens on YouTube or anything like that, but I don't want to worry about stuff like that. So I'm trying to find people who are cosplaying, but also are hopefully over the age of 21 that I can cosplay with. And then if I do find people who are over the age of 21 and they cosplay, my issue is I have a YouTube with a following and they're terrified of that. And so then they back away and I never hear from them again. I'm like, I'm sorry. because I know that is scary for a lot of people, that they feel like, since I have this platform and I have amazing artful friends and whatnot, and they're expecting certain things, and they also feel like they would be replacing people who left, that artful friends grew to know and love, and they don't want to deal with the stigma of being the replacement. So I do get a lot of people who are like, I would cosplay with you, but not if you post pictures and not if you make videos and stuff like that. So then I always just kind of like never hear from them again, and I'm like, come back, artful friends, they're not that scary. Please come back. But I also understand if I were in that situation, I would go for it just because I'm me. And if people wanted to be like, you're a replacement for so and so, and I don't like you, and I prefer them, and bring so and so back, and I don't like you because of this, that, and the other, I can handle that. I've been on YouTube since YouTube's been around, and I've dealt with so many different types of hate comments. I can handle it. I have a lot of thick skin, so I wouldn't be concerned about that. But I know for a lot of other people, if it's their first time, especially on YouTube, they're scared to deal with that. And I don't want to step on any toes by making people scared. I also live in Oklahoma, which means, yes, we have a lot of cosplayers, but we don't have a whole lot of cosplayers, and a lot of the cosplayers my age are kind of stopping cosplaying. Let's face it, I'm almost 30, and most of my friends are like about to turn 30 and stuff, and cosplay has just kind of become a, oh yeah, I did that in the past situation. I keep hearing that a lot from people of like, yeah, I mean, I'll cosplay at a con if I go to them anymore, but like I have work and I have this, that, and the other. Or I have kids. I hear that one a lot. I have kids, or I have a partner who doesn't cosplay, and I'm married with children, and I'm just like, yep, and I'm still that weird one at the age of 25, not married, not with children, and all by myself cosplaying, but I still want to, and I still enjoy it a whole lot. So it's what I'm going to continue to do until I find something else that I like better. But I am hoping to find somebody to cosplay with. That's why I'm still trying to force myself to go to cons, even though it's painful, and painful in many different ways, also financially painful. But like, I'm still trying to get myself out there because I know there has to be people out there who would be willing to cosplay with me that are around my age and whatnot. I just have to go actually out and find them. They're not going to come find me. And I have had a few people who I had to just say no to because I realized that they were wanting fame. And you all are artful friends. You understand that this isn't about fame at all. This YouTube channel is not about getting fame, getting glory, anything like that. And meeting some people who just kind of want the fame game, and they're hoping to like make a giant name for themselves and go places like that. I'm not really about that, and I know they're not going to get what they're wanting out of my channel. So I always just tell them, I'm like, you could make your own YouTube and stuff like that, and if you really work at it, then you can build things up, but you're not going to find it with me. I'm definitely not famous, and my channel is obviously not growing very rapidly. It's actually declining. And so I'm just like, I don't think this will work out if you're just gonna be here with me for fame and glory, because that's not what I'm about. So, sorry. Which is sad, because like there would have been an opportunity to cosplay with somebody, but would it have been for the right reasons? I don't feel like it would have been. So My number? No, I'm not going to. Oh, okay. Somebody else's site. Why would you stop cosplaying with kids? I would love to cosplay with my future kids. That's so cute. I don't understand. Like, some people that I know, they have kids now and they gave up cosplaying and whatnot. If you see my Acon cosplay interviews video that I did at Acon and whatnot, and I interviewed people, one of them was a mom with her 2 children, and she's a retired cosplayer, and she got her kids into cosplay. That's kind of what I want to do if I have the ability to have children one day. I would still probably cosplay, and I would have my kid cosplay with me until my child says, "I'm never cosplaying again. I hate you. I can't believe you made me do this." Because kids are born to let you down. Um, I'm a realist. I'm more logical about things. Like, I know if I had a kid, like, all my hopes and dreams would be dashed. I want a kid that I can cosplay with, but that would probably only happen until they have their own voice, and then they tell me no. So it happens. But I I don't know. Like, I have friends who are also around my age that they may not be married or have kids, but they've kind of given up on cosplaying, or they only do it at cons and whatnot, or they don't want to do videos, and to each their own. Everybody's different. But I am hoping at TNT to meet new people and whatnot. And if you're going to be at TNT, please do not feel afraid to come up and say hello or anything like that. I am I am excited to meet people and whatnot. I want to meet people. That's why I'm going. So please do not feel afraid to come up and say hi or anything like that. But I have been ranting for quite a while, and I know it is Father's Day, so maybe some of you will need to get to dinner or whatnot, or spend more time with your dad, or if you're like me and you just need to obviously clean your house or whatnot, like in my case. But I thank you all very much for being here, and please don't stop being you and being amazing people. I don't think you realize just how very important every single one of you are to me. So thank you very much, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.